In this video, we'll begin to talk about the analytical tools that you'll need to know in order to be able to analyze the media artifact for your media analysis paper within the next couple of weeks. The first analytical tool that we'll discuss is rhetorical analysis. I begin with rhetorical analysis because it's one of the more common analytical tools used by students specifically when first delving into media studies and media literacy. I think that's because it's probably one of the easiest ones to wrap your heads around because you're also learning about some of these concepts in your other classes like your English courses. So to talk about rhetorical analysis, when we say these words, and they sound a little bit intimidating at first, but when we talk about rhetorical analysis, what we're really getting at is how do media texts or artifacts encourage audiences to change their mood, their beliefs, or their actions. So I'm going to use the words text or artifact, and when I say these things, I want you to think about anything media related. That could be a comic book, that could be a TV show, that could be your favorite song, that could be the Democratic National Convention, that could be an advertisement in a magazine, that could be a newspaper article. So all of these things are examples of what I would call a media text or a media artifact. So when you go and you read over the media analysis paper assignment on Canvas, I will be referencing this thing that is a media text. For that assignment, you should choose a media artifact of your choosing that you're interested in that you would like to analyze. And you'll be choosing one of the analytical techniques that we're discussing over the next few videos, either rhetorical, cultural, feminist, or queer, to further understand the media text itself. So to get back to rhetorical analysis, we're really looking at, when we analyze our media artifact, we're really looking at the rhetorical strategies, the words, the images, the relationship to one another, music, things that aren't being said, all of those things combined, and how they relate to or contradict each other, and how they come together to build a larger cultural meaning that we in a society agree upon through our languages, through our social norms, through our cultural norms and things like that. This video directly correlates with Chapter 5 of your textbook on rhetorical analysis. So if I go over any of these concepts too quickly, please be sure to go back and read through Chapter 5 for more in-depth examples, or please contact me if you have any questions about any of the concepts we're about to discuss. So the first one is semiology and semiotics. This is when you go to find your artifact and you start to analyze it. You pick apart these signs, and signs are a combination of signifiers and the things that are signified. So what that means is a signifier is a referencing component. So for example, the word dog, D-O-G, that references an object, which is the signified. And when I say the word dog, that makes you think in your mind of an image of a dog. Now granted, the image in your head is probably very different from the image in my head, but culturally and linguistically, we can agree upon roughly a similar image of what that word references. So when I say the word dog, you're not thinking of a fish, you're not thinking of a cat, you're thinking of this four-legged canine. That's what a sign is. It's this relationship between my use of either words or images to get you to think about the object that I am trying to reference. So when you are analyzing your media artifacts, you can use, and I encourage you to use this kind of language to talk about the signs that are involved in these media artifacts. When we talk about signs like immigrants, what does that mean? When Donald Trump or when Hillary Clinton talk about immigrants, what kind of other signs and signifiers are they using to call an image in your mind? Is this a person who's vulnerable? Is this a person who's a terrible person or a threat to our society? Think about how signs are being used within our society to make us think about these images and what they represent, or these objects and what they represent. The next few concepts I'm going to discuss will be really helpful in analyzing your media artifact. So these are text and rhetorical structures. So the first type, or the first concept we're going to go over are clusters. When we talk about clusters, we're really talking about clusters of signs. So how various signs work together to create an image within our mind, or a larger cultural meaning overall. So for example, if we think about the Democratic National Convention, which just concluded last night, we see the use of a cluster of signs. If we turned on the TV and the DNC convention was on our television, we may not, having ever watched it, we may not know exactly what that is, but through the clustering of signs, we would quickly be able to figure out what we are watching. So through the use of red, white, and blue coloring, through the Democratic speakers that are there, when we see President Obama, when we see the First Lady, when we see former President Clinton, when we see Vice President Biden, we think, okay, this might have to do with the Democratic Party. When we hear that there's a focus on politics and the words that they use or the images that they're using, when we see that there's a focus on the 2016 electoral campaign, when we see that the speakers are all dressed in very professional attire, so this isn't a casual event, it's not a luau, it's not a barbecue. This is very much the fact that it's in a large arena with a very large audience, the fact that it's being televised. We start to see this clustering of signs, each of these things being its own individual sign, and there's a relationship at work that conveys to us this is what is going on. This is the larger cultural meaning of the thing that I am viewing.